PDF Butter is customer, user, admin, and developer focused. Design engaging and deal-winning documents in MS Word. Integrate these directly from Lightning UI. Automate with your favorite Salesforce.com tools like Process Builder and Flow. Go beyond and extend with Apex.
We were just a bunch of nerdy kids who ignored the haters. We took their ridicule and we built on it. And when some of us gave up, well, we built on that too. Built resilience, built on a mission to make things a little better every day until the users came. Then the haters were VCs who scoffed at our audacity. This just isn't the way things are done. But we kept building. Users turned into teams, turned into companies, running their entire businesses on our apps. Then the software giants came after us. We weren't proven, we weren't fully featured, our radical cloud model wasn't secure. But we built on. And today, as companies adopt the cloud to move faster, teams are finding themselves slowed down by each other's efforts. The skeptics are claiming we'll never develop innovation at scale. But now, DevOps have come to the cloud, ushering in a new era of transformation. Companies can release on demand across hundreds of environments, innovating faster with fewer conflicts and fewer disruptions. There will always be challenges. There will always be naysayers. And we'll build on.
Welcome to Customer Service is Social. Gina Marcus. I'm going to pass it over to our two presenters today, which is Carissa Booth and Chris Zulo, and we're going to get started.
So thank you all for coming to Customer Services Social, what it is and why it matters. My name is Chris Zulo. I am a 2020 Salesforce Marketing Champion and Salesforce MVP. I am on the Twitters and LinkedIn if you'd like to connect. I'm going to hand it over to my illustrious and fair partner.
So I'm Carissa Booth. I am, according to Chris Zulo, a marketing cloud extraordinaire. How you can remember me is I'm going to be the geek to his chic. So he does all the fun strategy stuff, and if you want to talk about APIs and development and some of the hardcore stuff, you're going to talk to me. Also on Twitter, and you can find me on LinkedIn. We post some great content on there. Also, fun thing about the Twitter, I'm the OG Salesforce booth. There is a Salesforce booth on there that is actually my twin brother. Don't tweet, he doesn't know anything. That's a joke. He's a fantastic FSL lead, but we are different people and it is confusing, I'm sorry. But I was the first, so that's most important.
Yeah, very important to remember. Always number one in our hearts. All right, so a little bit about what is customer service. So for those of you who aren't into the GIF, or otherwise animated graphics, I apologize in advance. There is going to be an abundance of content that may or may not make any sense to you, but it is part of the fun of doing these sessions. So really, what does it mean? It might mean something different to everybody. So we're here to kind of help clarify and clean up any sort of confusion you may have about what it is to be social, because technically customer service should be social inherently. So in the past, a lot of this was managed more by the marketing teams. And if we're dealing with customer service, marketers don't typically do customer service. So what we're able to do with a social customer service is we can enable our customer service teams to be more available and to make their lives a lot easier, and also not overwhelm the marketing team by giving them a bunch of things they don't really want to deal with anyway. So there's a whole bunch of numbers here. I'm not going to read them all off because you're all excellent readers yourselves. So really, it's just we need to be more thoughtful about how we engage with people who are speaking to us or looking for support from our organization. And I'll be very generic about that because social customer service is applicable to any organization, not just a commercial business, not just nonprofit. There's higher ed institutions, virtually any organization of people can have a social customer service. So social listening is a big piece of this. And so what can it do? There's a number of things, and this is just sort of the high level facts. It's just knowing what's being said about you. So if Carissa goes out and throws some shade at me on Twitter, I can potentially capture that and isolate and triage that as a potential case, or as a disgruntled customer, or as a disgruntled co-speaker, because I'm doing all the talking right now and I'm not shutting up. So this is where I'm going to let her do some customer outreach and give you her take as well. So you can influence your brand image, and I'm not doing a very good job with the ad-libbing there. So there's a lot that can happen. This is just a couple of years old, and this is constantly evolving. There's probably triple or more the number of pie slices here, and this is just the high level areas that are factoring into what's happening online. So it's just not humanly possible to keep track of that manually. So what are people saying? What does everything matter? No, it doesn't. So really the specific here about at mentioning when you're on Twitter or any other social platform, if you want to speak to or at somebody, you usually do some type of character and their handle, their profile name. And basically that's one of the things that the main building blocks for capturing the conversation and paying attention to that. So have no plan? Good luck with that. There's so many different use cases for this, whether it's your reputation, you want to keep people around, you want to, whether that's through support or just helping them with their questions and challenges. Again, this is a global world, a global economy. We used to be able to travel, and one time in the future, hopefully sooner than later, we'll be traveling again. So you'll definitely want to have the ability to handle those questions. And this is where Carissa is going to tell you a little bit more about who.
Yeah, so I know Chris mentioned a little bit before, but we use social customer service all around for governments to better understand how their constituents are, doing, especially on the local government side. So people can tweet at this traffic light is down or this stop sign is down after a storm, right? And that can help. A lot of local cities are using things like social customer service to be able to better serve those customers and know where the issues are. So the big is, your customer can be anyone. It can be students, constituents on the nonprofit side, customers, citizens. It can even be leads, right? So the whole point here is this is where your customers are. They're already on social media. There's a behavior now and an expectation that companies and governments, nonprofits will be able to interact with their constituents on social media. So it's really important to make sure that when you provide social customer service and when you have any social media handles, the expectation is that customers are going to find you and they're going to ask their questions, and you want to handle them not just like a number, but as the person they are. That's where the power of social customer service and Salesforce really come in, because you can really get that 360-degree view of the customer and who's asking these questions. And please continue to ask in Q&A any questions you have. We already have a few, and I'm going to update my demo accordingly. So if you guys have anything you want to see specifically, this is an all request at this point. The other point, sorry, back to get on the presentation, the other point around social customer service is there are always going to be trolls on the internet. Don't feed them. Get rid of them. And I'm going to show you in Source, you can actually exclude trolls, so you don't have to worry about them being the white noise in your feed. And at some point, they're just not worth replying to, which actually goes to my next slide. Is when do you want to act and react, really? So you want to be thoughtful, especially in this time. Empathy is going to be really important. And just be thoughtful about when you're starting and responding to questions in social media. Waiting 10 minutes is like waiting an hour. So if you're going to provide social customer service, really be upfront and honest with the hours that you're going to be available, so that constituent knows what to expect. And then when do you not want to act? The old adage of, if you can't say anything nice, don't say it at all. Back to, you really don't want to unnecessarily, get in any spats or disputes with any trolls. For your true customers, you can respond and try and help them and be as empathetic as possible and really resolve their problems, which is incredibly helpful. Southwest does this amazing job of, responding to people that have baggage that are lost or delayed flights without escalating any further. And that is a true skill, and a skill you should be training any social managers you have.
Just a quick side note, there was a very interesting lost, I don't know if it was a wedding dress or the bridesmaid was lost. Somebody was separated. Southwest did a fantastic job.
Forgot her, bridesmaid forgot her dress.
Yep, and that turned into a big, very popular and fun thing for people to follow. Ended up generating a lot of positive reputation for the brand. All right, so next is where. Everywhere versus nowhere. So we want to try and figure out where the sweet spot is, something in between. You can't be everywhere. There's way too many platforms, and frankly, that's just a waste of time to try and cover everything. Not paying attention is like sticking your head in the sand or under a rock. Things are still going to happen. Things are still going to be said. Doesn't mean there's something going on all the time, but really you just want to figure out where your people are. If it's Twitter, if it's Facebook, is it Instagram? I mean, there's a number of platforms that are very popular and that are supported through the system where you can pay attention to, and again, frame the conversation. And a lot of that is trial and error. There's not a silver bullet for everybody. It's going to be somewhat unique. Everyone is a special snowflake when it comes to this, because your brand, your tone, who you are, the things you do or don't do, all of that factors into sort of your special sort of net, as I like to call it. It is a two-way street. This is not old school marketing. This is not Mad Men. The Don Drapers of the world would hate social customer service, because this is where people are talking to you and you are responding. There are two or more humans involved. Hopefully you're not arguing with a bot, and you want to be thoughtful and just be authentic. I don't know if it's thoughtful, but Wendy's is hilarious. If you ever follow their Twitter handles, they are among the best. Don't pick a fight with Wendy's. And
why? Sorry, I'm still in this one. So the big thing here is it's not just about your ROI, it's also about theirs. So really back to like be authentic and also try and solve their problem. This is customer service at the end of the day. And the fact that it's in a public forum means even more so be on brand and be authentic, and really try and solve the customer's needs and resolve any issues they may have. That really goes a lot to building your brand reputation, your what people think about your brand. So yeah, it's really about thinking at any point, as we're seeing social customer service move from marketing to more customer experience teams, they really are thinking about, the customer first. And I think even marketing teams are managing social customer service. It's really about putting that customer first, and not thinking about your brand and not thinking about how viral this could be or, what's the funnest way to aim. It's really about solving their problems first and putting the customer at the front of everything.
Absolutely.
So what can you get from social customer service? So if you're not currently supporting your customers via your social handles, and those are just marketing, adverts, you really need to adjust and rethink how the social handles can start working for you, right? By resolving these issues, by providing, social customer service, you're really able to increase your clout and your reputation, and really gain customers, just from the natural platforms that Facebook and Twitter specifically are, as well as Instagram. But things it can do, it can lower costs, right? So you don't have I was on the phone with Wells Fargo for an hour and a half today and get help because with COVID, their offices are down. They are experiencing large call volumes. I'm sure we all have experienced this in the last couple months. And it's really unfortunate, but the group I needed to talk to, I couldn't handle via social, even just to say, hey, can you guys call me? And that was pretty upsetting. Like, this is where customers are expecting you to be. And it's really about lowering your own costs and being responsive as well as reputation management. Okay.
Awesome. So how? Pictures says 1,000 words or represents 1,000 words as saying something along those lines. So crawl, walk, run is definitely recommended. So setting up a blueprint is, crucial, but don't have analysis paralysis. Like, you're not going to figure it all out on day one. And it is something that is a living and breathing document. It's more of a roadmap, a guideline, if you will, but you just want to have the major directional components built in so you know who you are going to be, your rules of engagement, and so you can educate your people on how to handle themselves and manage on behalf of the brand. So, public perception, let's be honest, once your brand is out there, you no longer own it. You're actually an influencer on your own reputation. You are what people say you are, for better or worse. We may not agree with it. We all have our own hopefully higher, opinion of themselves than maybe they should. But it's just really being thoughtful around just knowing your brand is not necessarily just yours anymore. Learning from your mistakes. We all make them. Own it and move on. Own it, learn from it, and teach. Use it as a teaching moment. We're not always going to be right. We're never going to be perfect. So it's just, let's take these, take the hits with, as they come and work them in. And if there is an opportunity to, tweak or revise the way we approach something, let's take that in consideration. So that can influence your rules of engagement. And again, keep it simple. This should not be a 60-page snooze fest that you read before you go to bed because you can't sleep. This should be a couple of pages, single digits, always for something like this. It should not go beyond that. Preferably on the lower end. Again, it's not to solve every edge case. Stick with the 80-20 sort of methodology. Let's cover the most, common situations that we are expecting to encounter. So how can we, pay attention to this, and how can we identify these opportunities where we need to respond in a more timely fashion? So we can set alerts. So if something increases or decreases by a certain percentage or volume, we can have an alert that alerts our team. And it doesn't have to just be to one person and create a bottleneck. It can be a team. And so we can enable that within the system and use smart automation so that we can identify positive or negative changes. And if it's just a bunch of noise, if it happens to be something that is similar to your brand, like a GE or a GM, like all those sort of like very basic acronyms, there's a lot of big brands that have similar acronyms. You might get some, some cross wires occasionally. You can mute things if it turns out there's a lot of things going on about something unrelated to you. So percentage-wise, there's a number of things out here. So consumers, and this is a couple of years old as well, but this particular study, 64% of consumers expect the business to respond in real time, and business users have an even higher expectation. Shocking, I know, but you just need to understand expectations are higher, whether you want to acknowledge them or not. So review and revise. So as you can see here, like this is recent information. This was just done a couple of days ago. Carissa pulled a couple of things together. And again, this was just a fairly simple task. Just a couple of minutes, was able to set up a topic profile, which we'll get a little more into in a minute. But you can see with the heat map here, the top words is like the top 50 words. The bigger the word, the color scheme, it tells you what's most relevant. So whether or not you are tracking a particular word or keywords, it can be represented here. And this is where we can learn, hey, you know what? There's something being talked about all the time. We're not tracking it. That gives you an opportunity to basically investigate and understand, is it relevant? Should we be paying attention? Maybe we should, add a new group or factor this into one of our existing groups and build on that. And then you can see also, where's it coming from? We got quite a nice little cross section across the globe here, which is fantastic, given that this is virtual Dreamin and it's a global event. So it's nice to see that there is a broad spectrum of people who are participating in the conversation around virtual Dreamin. So again, automation is not set it and forget it, but it is there to help make the redundant or the mundane things a little bit more easy to manage. And with macros and automation, which Carissa is going to show you some really cool things in just a second, you can make it even easier. So you can use macros for people to manually accomplish a number of things very fast, or we can do a more complex automation as well. And so, again, going back to established guidelines, there is a when you could and when you should think. So when you could act would be if somebody directly engages with you, generally speaking, if it's positive, a customer service issue, if they're responding to you, they're directing to you, that's probably a good scenario for you to engage with them. When you should think about whether or not you want to jump into the conversation is if it's a generic conversation, if they're not directly talking about you, do you have something valuable to add to the conversation? If you don't, probably not worth your time if you're not going to add any value, and you may inadvertently, whether you were trying to do something useful or helpful, could end up backfiring. Negative comments, again, that's definitely think. I'm not saying don't think, don't engage, but you should definitely take a quick second, make sure it's something we should, do something about. Newsjacking, there have been so many bad newsjacking events over the years, and I don't really want to call them out by name, but a lot of large brands, airlines, and others, again, not going to call anybody out, but there have been a number of brands that have used the wrong newsjacking moments. There are times where you can do something that's funny and not offensive, but this is, again, where you should think. If you have any hesitation, probably shouldn't. And if you don't speak the language, that's a big no-no. So again, just be thoughtful in how you do engage. And so when we say think, thinking means being adaptive. And this image represents kind of where we are in today's society. We're all going through a similar situation. We all see this wonderful, office environment or makeshift office environment, but all around there's maybe a little bit more chaos than you can actually see. So think through that as well. Everybody is in this situation. It's not just you. So you've got to adapt for the moment.
All right, social in the time of COVID. I hope you guys are all loving the time of cholera fans. So I'm not going to get too far into this, mostly because it's been a couple months. So there's so much great content, frankly, already out there. Sales published some great content. If you guys want that, I can send links to it. Just tweet at me or follow me on LinkedIn. But really, it's about being empathetic and really create engaging content. We have a lot of people that are now turning this media to be a way of entertainment, especially for their kids. So one of my favorite things that I'll call out by name is the Getty Museum. They said, what do you have around your house, and can you recreate famous portraits? Amazingly viral and just truly really fun to see what everyone came up with, right? And it was a great way for parents to engage with kids and give them a pet project for the day. And then other things, like you see a lot of museums and zoos right now, and it also helps them recoup some of the money that they're losing, unfortunately, during this time. So call out to all your favorite art museums and places you would never go. Maybe it's hard for you to go to France this year. You can go see the Louvre right now. So go see places but sorry, these are great examples. Also, I love museums, but these are great examples of how to create really engaging, amazing content. So think about what's authentic to your brand. Don't try and steal something that doesn't fit for your brand, but really be authentic. And try and provide a fun way for people to engage with, to know your brand a little bit better. Okay.
Yeah, we won't read through all this, but this is just really a quick reference. Especially, I don't know if this is across the globe, but stateside, who, what, when, where, why, and how was drilled into our heads from a very early age, and it's very helpful and relevant to social customer service. So I'm not going to read all these out. They're pretty straightforward, and again, can send you more information if you want to dig into sort of this concept. But it's really just to kind of give you a guideline or a starting point.
All right. So before we go into the demo, there's a couple of things I do want to just explain as far as how the platform works. So your social accounts actually connect directly into Social Studio. It was formerly called Radian 6. Sorry, this is an older diagram, but Radian 6 is now Social Studio. So Twitter, Facebook, Weibo, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc., Instagram all come into Social Studio. And then within Social Studio is where marketing managers and social customer service managers can engage, publish, and analyze, and I'll show you all that in a second. Also, the top 2 license types get social automate, and I will do a very brief demo of this, but this is your workhorse of Social Studio and can really provide what Social Studio does manually in an automated platform. From there, you can both engage with your constituents and your customers in Social Studio. However, you can also do this in Service Cloud as well. And that allows for some better reporting with Salesforce and also that omni-channel support. So if you have a brand like a banking, financial, health, where you can't really solve someone's problem via Twitter or via social media, a lot of times you throw it straight into Service Cloud where someone can still contact them in a safe, HIPAA, financial compliant way. But it allows you to see that that customer came in via social media and it was resolved. You guys sent them through to a chat or a community portal, but you can see that whole history of how a consumer connects with your brand. All right, now for the fun part. Let me steal this screen and we'll get going. And I am moderating the questions. So if you guys have anything specific you want to see, let me know. All right. So the first one is actually Yogesh. I'm right here in Engage. I created a topic profile. I'll go back to topic profiles in a second, but I did want to show you how to create an alert. So right when you're in the Engage tab, and actually go to settings. Oops, there we go. I'm going to go to my topic profile. I'll go to virtual Dreamin. And then what I can do is I can set an alert. So when this is to increase, let's say 200%, this is not going to be a great example because hopefully there's a lot going on in these 24 hours of virtual Dreamin, but I can set the threshold that increases 200%. Then it's going to, send me an email so that I understand what's going on. This is particularly helpful if you're like a gaming brand or brand where you have like a tech where people are gonna be like, hey, there's an outage, right? Or maybe a telecom brand. And that way you can really see what's going on and where the outage is and really be a little more proactive about communication and setting the right expectation as well as answering your customers' questions. Okay, so I did want to show that. The next thing I'm actually going to show here, so when you're actually in Engage, you can see everything just kind of comes in and you can read through it. If you like, Benioff is getting a lot of love right now, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go to this tweet. You can actually see a lot about this, this tweet, right? So you can see the whole conversation going on. You can see any activity that they've had with your brand. This person has not been tweeting me, so it's a little sad. But you can also set some specific information. So you can set assignments, you can update the sentiment model. For Social Studio, I know we had a question about sentiment. It's really about training the Social Studio for your brand. So I've worked with a lot of sports brands where people use the words like, oh, he's the ball, or, you gave me a heart attack before you caught that fly ball, and things like that, where it actually would come in negative, but those are all positive items. So it's really about training the algorithm about how people talk about brand and talk about you. So it's about training the sentiment model. And so you can adjust this and explain why. So if I want to say positive, and then I can explain why and submit that adjustment. Okay. I can also set priority. So there's a lot I can do directly in the Engage tab here. The other thing I want to talk about, just because it's so important, is actually on the social listening side. I know we spent a lot about social listening, but I wanted to make it really clear. Within Social Studio, you can create what's called a topic profile. Sorry, as I navigate here. And really about what topic profiles is about, it's about social listening. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put in your keywords, where I've just put in hashtag VD20, and I can add in hashtag Dreamin20. And then let's say I wanted to exclude something. If I wanted the Mark Benioff white noise to be excluded, I could type in Mark Benioff, right? I don't, but I could. So this allows for brands like Ritz-Carlton versus Ritz Crackers. If I was creating a topic profile about that, I would like exclude crackers if I wanted the hotel brand. So it allows you to really be, it takes a bit of science with this, but it allows you to really pinpoint what you're able to do as far as listening about your brand. And then the other thing I wanted to show you, because people asked about it, is, let me go back here, out of words. You can also filter based off of media type. So maybe you don't care about the aggregators and the general like forums and web. You just really want the social media. So you can actually filter this by social media platform. And the other thing you can do is filter by region and source groups. So I highly suggest, back to don't feed the trolls, add them to your source group and exclude them. And that way they just don't even come in. All right. So some cool tips and tricks that you can do right here within your topic profile to ensure that you're really listening, you need to listen to, and ensure you understand how people are talking about your brand. Back to, you know, what the public's perception is typically the reality, unfortunately. So it's really important to understand how everyone on these social media platforms about your brand. I'm going to save this. And to see that, I know I only have a few minutes left, so I'm just going to show you a quick little analyze about what you can see and how you can see people talk brand and really understand a better idea of how people are talking. And this is a bit of the screenshot you saw on the slides earlier today. And you can see your top influencers here. You can see your top keywords. You can actually click in these and see the exact tweets. And you can even respond to them right there and really like provide that social customer service wherever you're at, whether you're engaged or analyze. See your top countries and even your sentiment model, right? All right, let's see. Sorry, let me look at how are we doing on time. I have about 4 minutes.
6 minutes.
Okay. Then I'm going to show you Social Automate. So remember in that diagram where I said Social Studio is great, but you can see it's manual. Oops, I realized one thing I forgot to show you guys. So this is really manual. It takes me clicking in and responding exactly how I should. If you wanted to see what happens when we put gasoline on this, I'm going to Social Automate. But before I do, I wanted to show you really quickly, you can set quick macros, and this is how you can send this tweet to Service Cloud, right? So it's directly in a macro. It's called send to Salesforce. You set that up and you just click this, and then it's going to say the macro applied, and that gets sent directly to Salesforce. So if you're a marketing media manager, and let's say you don't really handle customer service, you can have a macro with a quick test that's like, you know, hear about your trouble, we're going to be reaching out to you, blah, 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 whatever that appropriate, you know, little phrase is. That can be part of your macro and send them directly to Salesforce for your customer service team to really be able to reply and handle them from there. Now, again, this takes, you know, manual effort, individual effort of you clicking that and then clicking the macro. What Automate does is this puts gasoline on everything. So you can see here, I've created a data source, which is my topic profile for virtual dreaming. And there's my threshold alert I just started. I'm actually going to stop that. I don't need those emails. Sorry. But that's essentially how the threshold works. It's through Automate, actually, background. So I set up the topic profile for virtual dreaming, and I just set up that as a data source and push play. And what you can do here in the rule is you can actually set some quick rules to be applied either in Social Studio or in Salesforce. So let's go in and edit this. Oh, that's sorry, I'm in the wrong rule. I need to look at this before I do that. While I do that, I'm going to look at, Sorry, we had a question about training the sentiment model. So sentiment model, the question is it mandatory to set up a topic profile? It is not. Topic profiles are really about social listening, but you can just attach your social accounts and you'll see everyone that @mentioned. The beauty in topic profiles is that will bring in people that don't @mention you specifically. So you can see more broader and generally how people are talking about your brand. But for the actual sentiment model, you don't have a profile at all. You can just set up your accounts and you can start seeing how people are interacting with you and really training that sentiment model. All right. How many times can I say sentiment model in a sentence?
I don't know. We can turn it into a game if you like.
Okay, sorry as I let this go. Okay, so now I'm going to edit this virtual dreaming rule. And this really just shows you there's a lot you can do within these rules. Like I said, you can actually assign in Social Studio, set specific classifications and author labels and post labels directly in Social Studio, or you can actually send to Salesforce, right? So we can send it directly to Salesforce, and we can do things like translate a language. We can classify a post. We can assign it. You can send an email. So if there was something around like crisis management, I've done this before, where it hits specific words, we see additional conditions, like if words include internet down, what have you, then you can actually send an email directly to maybe like your IT staff, etc. So there's ways to send, to ensure that the right cases go to the right people, whether it is your customer service team or whether it might be like the IT team or some ancillary team or maybe sales around leads.
There's a great question about the sentiment model for if for some reason it's a language that's not supported, and it does support almost a dozen languages, there are integrations with other natural language processing services. I would imagine that they can do the analysis you would want in their particular tool and feed that back into Social Studio. I've seen it done with one brand in particular, but you definitely want to investigate that before making any purchases, just to make sure it's going to do what you need it to do.
Yeah, and on the Salesforce help docs that you can see look specifically at Social Studio and what Social Studio supports. Each of the clouds and tools support different languages. They're generally very close or similar, but there are small nuances between like what languages are supported in Service Sales Cloud versus Marketing Cloud and Social Studio.
We have one more minute. We're at 2:39, sorry.
Yeah. I think honestly, we got to the point around Automate. I know it's everywhere, but yeah, the whole point is really that Automate allows you to automatically send to Salesforce or classify posts and answer posts as you need it.
And if anyone has any questions, they should reach out to you via your social channels and they can continue the conversation with you.
Precisely.
Exactly. And I'm just going to breeze through these. We'll be sharing the deck after this, and I believe we're being recorded, but there's a number of useful, relevant links in here. This one is more on the strategy side on thinking through how you want to do this. And then there's also some direct links to some official information from Salesforce, a trail, a module, some help pages, including supported social networks. There's a number of things on there, and we can certainly take this offline and have follow-up conversation after this. Thank you all so much for coming.
Awesome, thank you. Great content, and I'm actually going to look at this product. So much for your help today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.